Hello everyone, so this is a review of a food dehydrator that I'm using to dry my model parts after I paint them. So this is a local, online place, but I see these food dehydrators on AliExpress and eBay and stuff like that. So this is what showed up in the mail. I thought this was like just a shipping box, but no, this is the actual box that this thing comes in. So I was opening it on the bottom and then realized it's right there. So yeah, be mindful of that. It seems to be a pretty decent box though. So we got some foam here. This thing is huge, much bigger than I should be using this photo booth for, but let me get this stuff out of the box here. Nice foam here again. Right back up this thing. A bunch of trays. So I can get this box out of here. Fruit dryer, trays, put those aside for now, and we got the main thing here. I'm just curious how easily it is to operate. I'm pretty sure it will work, but I have a temperature reader to really find that out. So looking at this thing, we have a timer, 1 to 48 hours, and then we have 35 to 70 C. You're gonna have to get used to centigrade. I guess you could put a sticker on there for Fahrenheit. Would have been smart if they just had both, right? But I'm sure this display lights up here. These are just rotary dials, and then we have some sort of heater element, probably like a hair dryer element. It looks like a coil in there. Yeah, it looks like a metal coil that probably heats up, and then there's obviously a fan, and then for some reason it's actually directional, this arrow cover. And I think the reason why is these 4 bolts are not actually equidistant. There's actually a stagger right here, so that's why there's a front arrow. And there's a little drain hole here for, when you actually do use this for fruits and meats. I'm guessing that meat juice just kind of drips out onto the floor, which is kind of disgusting. That's really weird, right? That there wouldn't be a tray down here, but there's just a ventilation for the fan to suck in and probably keep an electronics board cool. This is actually has some sort of certification, CCC. I don't know what that one is, but it hopefully won't catch on fire. Okay, so this one is 220 volts. I don't know. You might have to obviously check to see if there's a 110 volt for Japan or North America. But for Europe and Southeast Asia, this will work perfectly fine. All right, take a look at one of these trays while we're here. Seems relatively durable. Polypropylene, if I had to guess. Same kind of plastic for like, those plastic Tupperware type of food preserver boxes. The stuff you put leftovers in with this. So these naturally stack up, and they seem to all be molded pretty equally because they stack well enough. Interesting. I'm noticing if I flip this, it changes the height. Hopefully you saw that. You can see there's a gap right here, right? But if I turn this around 180, it collapses. There's a gap here. Turn this around 180. So for very low objects or for storage, you can store it with minimal height here, right? So there's also, some heat and moisture to escape out the top. So that's pretty smart. You have 2 different heights. You might be curious what the heights are. I am. So the height of this inside tray is like 15 millimeters, or around a little over half an inch, 5/8 of an inch. Now, try to just go to this next one. Yeah, it's about the same. But if I flip this around, let's see what the difference is when it's the higher mode. I'm just getting the edge of this ruler. So that is around 25 millimeters or 1 inch. Okay, so those are the height things. It could be in the specs of these listings, but you never know if the specs are right. Let me plug this guy in, and then we'll see what this display looks like. Alright, let's just plug this guy in. So it makes a beeping sound. To the naked eye, it doesn't flicker. This is running at the same frequency as the camera, so the camera's catching up with the frequency, or it's close to it. But to the naked eye, to see 4 solid white lights going on there. So let's see if I change this. I'm gonna guess that's 3 minutes 45, maybe? No. So that's pretty easy to use. It jumps pretty fast, so that's good. And then temperature wise, it's maxed out. Or that's like, it's a really strange display. Like, it's hidden behind this white piece. It's part of the body, I guess, to keep it easy to clean, but you know, I wish it was brighter. But I'm guessing those are two. That's like a colon mark. So that's just 35C, 45C. So basically you want to ignore those first 2 digits. Now it's at 70C, right? Alright. I noticed I paused the video and I went away and the display went off because I didn't start it. But I just ended up pressing this in and it turned it on again. That was like this is like the on-off button. See, it's off, it's on, off. But this side, although it clicks, that might be the start button, I'm gonna guess. But anyways, inside that box I found there was a service card, which obviously won't help me out. And then there's an instruction manual here in Chinese. It's all Chinese. Oh, well, this is actually English here. Okay, a diagram about that. And then this is recommended drying times, I guess, for certain foods. Quite useful. Maybe I'll actually try to use this to dry some food. Its original intention. There's also some food preservation bags. They look pretty nice quality. It's just 4 of these little Ziploc bags, so 2 different sizes. Although they're so similar in size, I don't even understand. Right? Look how small the difference is. Oh well. All right, so I have a black steel bolt and a black anodized piece of aluminum here. I'm gonna put these right here. And then I have a laser temperature gauge. Right, so right now it's at 25C. Yeah, both of them are pretty much room temperature, 25C. So I'm going to cover this thing. Let's just stack up 4 of them. And the lid, that you can't see. Let's turn this on. We'll just crank 5 minutes. We'll crank up 70C. Holding that in, but didn't start it. Oh, so this is also the power. Beyond the power button, this is what starts the actual temperature process. Let me try to get a different angle here. While that thing's getting hot, I'm basically going to check the temperature of those metal objects to see if they actually reach 70. Right now, the outer housing this is an old laser thing, so yeah, the outer housing is still room temperature, 25.2. Try to clean off this thermometer while the thing is warming up. Alright, so the thermometer's just got a bunch of grime on it. It's at 29, so it's jumped up quite a bit, pretty fast. Now I'm wondering if this time can change while it's running. No, it cannot. You'd think you'd be able to add more time, but maybe that's to prevent accidental bumping into it, you know, and then it runs longer. So 31. So it's rising. I don't actually feel a temperature difference. It's also, you know, filling up all this, so naturally that takes time. Now, I'm touching the top vent here. I can feel a little wind coming out of it. I can't say I can feel a temperature. Oh, no, now it is kind of warm. It is warm, it's noticeable. So now, 32. I think I'm going to remove some trays to speed up this process. Well, really, all the trays to speed up this process. It definitely feels hot. Well, warm. Yeah, so this bolt is at 46. This thing is at 37. I think that's too close. Battery's dying. Alright, 56. So it seems to take a little time, but it's almost at 70. I'm just, you know, tapping into the heating element there. So I see no reason why this wouldn't work to dry parts out. Naturally, I can't tell you temperatures and times, but if I find, you know, what works best for my parts, I use an airbrush, so my paints are put on pretty thin, so they should dry very quick. I don't use enamels, I only shoot acrylics through my airbrush, Vallejo or Tamiyas. So the Tamiyas dry fast because they're IPA based. Vallejo is water based, but still dries relatively fast. But oils take a long time to dry. I think if you do oil painting, this would really help you out. But even for my acrylics, I think this will shave off a lot of time instead of waiting like a whole day for, you know, parts to be able to be worked with by hand. Alright, well, hopefully this has helped you out, at least. Well, now the last thing is, how do you turn this off? I guess that's it. But maybe it takes time to cool off, cycle itself off. This one does nothing. Let's see if it just shuts off by itself. There's some dials around, nothing. I'm sure it has to cool itself off before it shuts down. My induction cooking plate does the same thing. Yep, there it goes. Alright, well, I just painted a bunch of 3D printed wheels. I laid on the paint kind of thick on this one, really thick, because the gold Vallejo just doesn't lay well. The silver Vallejo works really well. But let's try this tray out, and we'll just have one tray in here. So power on. So anyways, 1240. Interesting. And then I noticed with only one piece of drying tray, this wind coming out of here is much stronger than in the photo booth where I had all the trays on there. So just to show you, here's a paper towel, right? So you can see it's clearly, you know, it makes sense. There's less volume going on inside of this thing. So the less stacks of plastic you have, the more wind you're going to have inside swirling around, henceforth drying off your parts. So, yeah, okay. In fact, let me put all the things on and we'll see what the wind looks like. Alright, I went and got all the stacks here. So let's put all these on, and so they're stacked up where they're the maximum interior space possible. And now I gotta, gee, I raised the tripod already, but let's see how breezy that vent is now. It's definitely, you know, there's still a decent amount of air coming out because it's logical they would still be pushing out the same amount of air, but I just don't think the air is coming out as fast as before. So maybe take note of that angle, and I'm going to remove these trays again. Only have this one, and then, yeah, see, that's definitely a much steeper angle. Alright, I guess that all makes sense. Is that really important? I don't know, but I just find this kind of stuff interesting. So, you know, that's just the way my mind likes to work. Okay, well, it turns out this is actually hours, you know, because it literally says 1 to 48H. So right now this is set at 12 hours at 45 Celsius. Which makes sense because I don't think any fruit or meat is going to dry out in 12 minutes, like I was thinking. My wishful thinking was this is a paint drying booth, but it's actually a food dehydrator. So anyways, I don't need to have parts drying for 12 hours, or even 1 hour in my opinion. I think you'd be better off just using like a little timer, a separate timer, and just setting the temperature, you know. But worst case, maybe just set it to 1 hour at whatever Celsius you think would work best. So it's been running for maybe 20-30 minutes now before I realized it's been a lot longer than 12 minutes. And I'm not going to wait for this thing to run 12 hours, obviously, so I'm going to just stop this thing. And then it's going to cool itself off. But let's take a look at these parts here. Get the camera a little higher. Or I guess I could just move the thing towards us. So those gold ones, yeah, that was on really thick. Seems okay. Yeah, it's pretty tough. I'm scraping that pretty hard, actually. Let me try to get a fingernail in there. Alright, obviously, if I dig into it with my fingernails, it's going to come off. But I think it's perfectly fine to handle, to put some tires on, to at least break off of the 3D printing supports. Alright, so that's good. Alright, well, that's what I learned here. So, it seems pretty good. All in all, I paid around maybe like $23 or something. It was like 700 Thai baht. Whatever the exchange rate is these days, but I think it might be 21. It's in the low $20 range. So I think it's well worth it for something this inexpensive. And yeah, just gotta realize this is hours. The first 2 digits are hours. The last 2 digits are Celsius. This is the on-off button, and also the start drying button. I like the different stacking trays for the height differences. So no complaints. Yeah, so I think I'll actually try to dry some fruit and some meat with this, with some of the other trays. That maybe I'll just dedicate 1 or 2 trays to painted parts, and the rest will be for food. Well, hopefully this has helped you out. If I find some other useful information, I'll have a follow-up video, but it's a pretty simple product, so I kind of doubt that's going to happen anyways. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully I'll see you in the next gadget review. Bye.